Chapter 1, the Epistle to the Romans. We need not deny that the Epistle to the Romans treats the doctrine of justification by faith, as every Protestant writer insists. Nor need we deny that it deals carefully with law and the relation of law to the gospel. We will not skip the passages asserting the rights of the Gentiles or those about Israel after the flesh and Israel according to promise. We will not make the letter explain St. Paul's own life and struggles any less than the 7th chapter suggests, nor explain the state of the human race under its two heads any less than the 5th chapter suggests. Whatever aspect the epistle has shown to any earnest reader, even the most superficial, should receive full recognition from anyone who understands that Christ was revealed in the apostle so that he might preach him. But when the various doctrinal and practical statements addressed to this church are seen in that light, they are no longer fragments, not a random string of opinions and arguments, nor a dry formal treatise in which affection would be out of place. The whole becomes a letter with a clear and orderly sequence of thought in which no part could be dropped without damaging the rest, flowing freely from a rich, inspired mind, perfectly fitted to the needs of the particular people addressed. Those who make justification by faith the one subject of Romans can find some support in every chapter, but chapters 3 to 9 are their main ground. They tend to treat the first two chapters as prologue and everything after the 9th or the 11th as epilogue. On this arrangement they trace the argument clearly. Chapter 3 shows all are guilty before God. Chapter 4 that Abraham and David were forgiven and had righteousness imputed to them by faith under the Old Covenant. Chapter 5 how this becomes available to us through Christ's obedience. Chapter 6 that faith without works has no evil moral consequences. Chapter 7 how it frees the conscience from a terrible bondage. Chapter 8 how it connects with hopes of future glory. Chapter 9 how it rests on a divine election, not of the flesh but of the Spirit. This view seems plausible, but examined from various angles it raises many controversies. Does St. Paul really mean that all men without exception are sinners in the same sense, that the words "there is none righteous, no, not one," their throats an open grave, asps poison on their lips, no fear of God before their eyes apply to Samuel, Hezekiah, Isaiah? If not, where do you stop? The language sets no limits and gives no hint that it describes only the unfaithful. Indeed, the whole argument would collapse if it did. Again, what faith is this that brought such blessings to David and Abraham? What kind and degree of it? Did it look to some event not yet done? Was it future or present? If future, how does it resemble the faith that justifies after Christ's coming? If present, what was present to them that is also present to their successors? It is further asked whether the idea of imputed righteousness clashes with the apostle's solemn assertion that God's judgments are according to truth, and with his condemnation of the Jews for treating righteousness as a mere form. Another question, does not chapter 5 suggest that justification by Christ matched the fall in Adam and was even more complete? Yet how can that be if justification is only for the few who believe it? Then a moral difficulty? Paul says we must not stay in sin so that grace may abound, but if a man is not tempted to sin by having grace, is he not forced into sin by lacking it, and is that consequence not just as terrible? Again, if a man's faith does not attract grace, which would be a Roman doctrine, in what sense is faith the justifying power? And once more, the endlessly repeated question, whom does chapter 7 describe? Paul, converted or unconverted, a man aware of an evil nature without a deliverer, or aware of both and believing the deliverer stronger? Whom do the assurances of chapter 8 apply to? Those God is willing to save in chapter 9. And are there not others, vessels of wrath, whom by the same chapter he is willing to destroy? I think all these difficulties come from one source. It is assumed that Paul's theology starts from human depravity, that he regards Christ and all Christ's acts. I fear this sounds irreverent, but I cannot avoid it, as mere provisions against sin. This notion comes largely from taking Paul's conversion as the key to his life and doctrine. I have no quarrel with that, I hold it firmly. But I must interpret his conversion as he interprets it. Then I have no reason to disturb the natural order of his epistle or to treat its opening, where he seems to announce his innermost purpose, as a mere porch. Chapter 1. St. Paul begins by saying he is entrusted with a gospel of God concerning his Son Jesus Christ, born of David's line according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of God with power by the resurrection of his dead members. He is not ashamed of this gospel, because it is the power of God unto salvation for everyone who believes. And why? Because in it the righteousness of God is revealed to faith, as Habakkuk wrote, "The righteous man shall live by faith." As this gospel reveals God's righteousness to everyone who believes, so also it reveals the wrath of God against those who hold down the truth in wrong. He explains this: God has shown himself to all men not just here and there, his power and Godhead are seen through his works, what can be known of him he has declared to them. Paul leaves no doubt what kind of showing this is. It is a showing of righteousness, of God as a righteous being. He traces men's unrighteousness in all its forms back to their unwillingness to keep God in their knowledge. In many ways they confess his righteousness and confess that he judges evil, yet they worship the creature more than the Creator and make him into the likeness of birds and beasts and creeping things. And this idolatry, this revolt from the invisible God, drags after it an ever-growing train of moral corruptions. Chapter 2. So far his countrymen might agree, condemning the idolatrous world and boasting of their own privileges. But how dare they? Did mere possession of a law and covenant exempt them from other nations' sins? Had not Jews committed every crime charged against the heathen? Was it not said that God's name was blasphemed among the heathen because of them? So how does the case stand? God had revealed himself to the Gentile, and more fully to the Jew. Jews or Gentiles who, by patient well-doing, sought glory and honor and eternal life, that is, who truly made use of God's self-revelation and chose to keep him in their knowledge, would obtain what they sought, while Jews or Gentiles who were contentious and obeyed unrighteousness would find tribulation and wrath. How could such evil fall on a member of the chosen nation? Because the whole covenant is with the Jew inwardly. Circumcision is not the outward thing in the flesh, but the setting apart of the inner man to God, cutting him off from what is fleshly and outward.